Why are many men less opposed to misandry than they are a threat to masculinity? Lee Millard, Man's Equality. Could it be that masculinity is defined in part by misandry, the hate of men, the hate of men of themselves? Is equal justice and being treated as a real person less important than being used and appreciated as a service, utility, or disposable pawn? Are rights and equality less important than having a purpose? Sadly, common male sentiment seems to be, at least I have a purpose in life. Is this not self-hate and the endorsement of one's own slavery and discount? Historical documentation has, has described the mental condition experienced by many slaves who were freed after the American Civil War as distraught, even stoic, without any purpose left to their existence. They even sought occupations that were, in essence, the very thing they had left. They had no other skills or identity to rely upon. This mental condition was especially the case if their prior slave owners had treated them good and provided them an adequate life. Sad to say, many men now tolerate worse treatment and living conditions than many slaves experienced, including those who had access to and close relationships with their children. And they were not held liable by the state to paying money to women for children they were deprived, or imprisoned for non-payment of a debt assessed for it either. An identity based on a purpose is the only one many men know. Like a horse freed from the burning barn that returns to the barn because that is where it belongs. That's all it has for its security and known existence. Like the horse, men are returning to the burning barn as many are dying, committing suicide. An inadvertent admission to this male existence has been expressed by feminists in the declaration that men have become obsolete. There is more meaning and truth to this statement than we realize. It's so revealing that I fear its true value. This statement's value is too easily overlooked and dismissed as to be regarded only as some misandric remark expressed by feminists. At first, so did I. I thought the same thing. It is demeaning, sure. However, the thought conveyed through such a demeaning statement in this case has an underlying component of truth to it. In other words, men are becoming worthless, but why? Men are merely seen as disposable pawns, slaves who didn't have to be bought to freely be used by women as their slave owners. Women don't have to pay for their slaves other than by a shared activity, sex. Men are easy keepers, not high maintenance, as are most women in comparison. Men's services are free since their value, as defined in their sculpted existence, comes from serving women. They don't require anything other than for women to stroke their egos, defined by their servitude to women, and for women to provide them their basic needs. Just like men becoming obsolete, would the slaves have been freed eventually anyway through technology as machinery replaced slave labor? The feminist declaration that men are becoming obsolete is an admission, inadvertent or not, that men are not defined other than by their servitude to women. In other words, men are obsolete because women have become independent of men. The slave or utility defined existence as all that men have been allowed, all they know per their defined masculinity, little different from an existence that was attributed to slaves, in some ways even worse, as mentioned. Someone with the status of a slave, as in the case with a man, is not allowed to speak his mind. If he does, he is ridiculed and punished for it. What he wants doesn't matter because he is designated a slave and not worthy of acknowledgement in his own right. Men are deemed wimps, incels, and misogynists who speak out for their rights and equality to women. Like shaking a mechanical doll with a short, Mama, Mama. People need to be woken up from their slumber, zombie like conditioning, and realize how, through their conditioning, they have been misled with their intellectual abilities purposely deflated by influences that use this social conditioning to their advantage.